So we're here now with Ben from Megalomatic. So first of all, hi. Are you currently in Glasgow just now, like me?
Hi, yeah, I'm just in the outskirts of Glasgow. So yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, me too. First of all, really curious to ask, what made you want to be in a band?
I don't know. I've just always been quite attracted to just the creative industries in general. But music, as I grew older, like as I started going through secondary school, music was definitely the one that I was drawn towards a lot more than the rest. Um, and I just wanted to be involved with music in any way that I could, whether that was like recording it or playing it. Um, I even remember turning around to my parents when I must have been like 12 or 13 and saying like, "Oh yeah, I'd even be a roadie on tour. That I'd live like a roadie," which they were quite shocked at. But yeah, it's something that's always been quite quite appealing to me.
Yeah, so who was it that actually formed the band? How did you come together as a group?
So that was our singer, Craig, and our old bassist Will. Um, about 8 years ago now, which is kind of scary. Back in 2013,
Yeah.
one of the two members, another guitarist and a drummer, and the guitarist couldn't make their first gig. He had to pull out their first gig, so I was called in as a session musician, and I
Mhm.
ended up knowing the guys really well, and I ended up joining the band as a rhythm guitarist for a few years. Went through a few lineup changes, and kind of until we're at the lineup we are now, which we've been at for the last few years.
Yeah, well, the name, where did the name come from? That's what I really want to know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think I think their original idea was that they wanted a word that didn't exist because it's essentially easier to find on like search engines and social media and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And essentially taking the word megalomaniac, which there's a few songs about called Megalomaniac by like Muse and I want to say Megadeth. And yes, and they just took that and they just kind of morphed it a little bit.
Okay, so for those who haven't heard of you yet, how would you describe your style?
It's kind of heavy alternative rock with a lot of kind of progressive influences, new time signatures, and all that sort of thing. But also trying to keep it relatively commercial in a sense, even though it's quite heavy. We'll still try to do songs that are more melodic, like as well. With mixing, soft and heavy stuff together.
Yep, so what has been your biggest venue yet? Where have you performed so far?
We've formed a quite a good few venues. Probably the most prestigious one, I guess, would be King Tut's. We've played a couple of headline shows at King Tut's, which have just been absolutely excellent. Um, so that'd probably be the best one.
Yeah, so what's next for you then when lockdown is over and you're free? Like, do you have any plans, any secrets, or is it all still under the pipeline?
Well, yeah, we have been working on an album since, well, we started recording that back in January last year, so that's 13 months now. Which that is in the hands of the mixing engineer at the moment, and we're just kind of waiting until we can release that under, safe conditions when we can actually gig and tour with it.
Yeah, well, it will definitely be worth the wait. So, in the meantime, we're going to put some links below for all of the Cubers to have a listen and get to know your music. But what would you say to them to do? Have you got certain social media platforms they can follow you on to keep up to date?
Yeah, the best ones for us would probably be Facebook or Instagram. And we're also on pretty much anywhere where you can find music, like Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal. I believe even TikTok, if someone wants to make a TikTok to some heavy metal.
Have you made any TikToks?
We have not. That is one social media platform we're yet to move on to. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
That's
maybe,
what we want to see.
maybe for the second album.
Yeah, we just want to see you doing one of those TikTok dance things.
Yeah, we're still getting there. We're still getting there.
So, what has been your favourite song that you've made?
Oh, that'd probably be a tough one. Um, Probably we have a song called Cesspit, which I absolutely love, um, and it always gets quite a good reaction from the crowds. Like I remember we played a show down in Norwich a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and it was the shows, but almost everyone there knew this song because the promoter that had booked us was just a massive fan of us, and he'd got all of his friends and everyone he knew into us, and they all just loved this song. So the second that we played that, suddenly everyone's singing along to every word, and that was quite, it kind of made the song a lot more special to me than it already was, because it kind of it resonated with me in a certain way.
Is it you that writes most of the material, or would you say it's a group effort?
It's mostly a group effort. Definitely our guitarist and singer, he is like kind of king of guitar riffs, so he'll just come in with like a bunch of ideas a lot of time, and we'll just kind of stitch it together in a way that works. All writing our own parts, and or like making suggestions for each other, just trying to make it the best overall thing that we can.
So what's your goal now? Like where do you want to go next? Is it to be like in the charts, or is it to be like what's your next step?
Yeah, realistically, I think our stuff is maybe a little too niche for the charts, but maybe it's a little too heavy. But I would really love to tour, just to tour again in general. Touring Europe would also be nice, but that's maybe a little too much of an ask. But just touring the UK again would be really nice. Um, it'd be good to get some decent uh, attention from the album as well after all the work that's gone into it.
Yeah.
But it's not the reason at all that we make it. We just make it because we love the music that we make. We're, you know, just hoping that we can gig again in general, to be honest. It's just
Fingers crossed, I know. Final question for anyone wanting to get into music, what advice would you give them?
just try not cut yourself off from playing or listening to too many different genres. You know, try to listen or be inspired by everything that you can. It's quite unrealistic a lot of the time for somebody to make it as a performer just alone. So I think it's important to kind of have a lot of fingers and a lot of different pies, and essentially, you know, just find all the different aspects of the music industry that interest you, and try to see if you can work in them all together. So maybe record bands a little bit and make some money from that, make some money from performing as well. Maybe write some songs for someone else if they can get into that. Remix competitions if that was their thing. Like, just try find every different avenue that they could get into music, and they could make a career out of lots of different little things. Not to say that it's not impossible to make a career as a performer, but it's just important to, you know, just find all the things that interest somebody, and then they
Yeah, of
can
course.
make a career in that industry.
Sure. Do you have any final things you want to say to our listeners, us cubers?
Just thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and give me a wee chance to talk about our heavy music, which is cool.
Thank you.